Welcome everybody. Today's video finds us over here in Ayutthaya, and where we are is we're north of the former city island, and we're going to take a look at some things that nobody ever comes over here and looks at. We're going to kind of go off the beaten path. We're going to walk down along the old Khlong or the old canal over here, and we're going to look at a total of 4 sites. There's one that's a shrine, and the other 3 are old abandoned temples that have never been excavated by the Fine Arts Department. So we're going to walk through here. I'll tell you a little bit about what I know. There's not a whole lot known about these, but anyway, we'll just walk through here and we'll kind of enjoy the day. I've been in this area before, but I've never been to these sites, so we'll kind of see what it is. I was looking at Google Maps, and then I also look at this other site that's like the history of Ayutthaya, and it has these out here. Now we're going to look at Wat Laiso first. That's probably the biggest ruin that's in this area, and you got to just kind of come out here. There's a little trail, and it's just accessed by foot. This area is prone to flooding, so you can't come here during the rainy season because this will all be submerged. And there's no signs out here telling you where these are. So it is out in the bushes this way. Let me climb through the trees here and we'll see this site. Now at one time there was a pretty large building built here, some kind of business. You can see the wall is kind of collapsed down, and this is Wat Laiso right here. And what you can see is kind of a cool looking bell-shaped chedi, and then another smaller little satellite chedi here. You can see the brick core, and it looks like the locals have came and put some scaffolding up, and then they've wrapped it with the cloth also. And then there is one part of the sermon hall that's still remaining, and that is this little bit of the wall right here. And you can see the Bodhi tree has completely engulfed it. And you can see how this has been looted. If there was any relics inside, they were dug out by people. And you can see a little bit of the plaster that's still remaining, and you can see how that chedi is cracked. I would say by the styling, it's long and thin. I would say it's probably early Ayutthaya. And then you can see the tree here that's completely engulfed this building. And you can see there's just rubble, dirt, everything else is built up here at the base. And then this tree, oh, it's just fantastic. I really like how these trees will take over these buildings. You can see how thick the plaster was. It's a full inch thick right there. And you can see a little bit of the faux column that would have been on the back side, and that would have been topped with like a lotus flower here. And then all just the rubble mound here from this old building. And then on site, there's still quite a few Buddha images that are still here. And the locals will come over here and they'll pray. You can see they've actually laminated some cards with a little prayer on it. So the locals will still come here, leave the flowers and all of that. And all the Buddhas, you can see that they're sandstone. That one there's in pretty good shape, and the head is missing. Yeah, they would lop the heads off, the vandals would, of these old Buddha images. You can see the bricks still standing tall right there. It's quite amazing that there is still anything really left at this site. You can see there's another little chedi that would have been over there, and then this would have all been the building. Yeah, with the flooding here, I've been over here whenever this area is flooded, and there is a lot of water. And then this would have probably been a second building over here, probably the Ubasot or the ordination hall. Now let's walk down along the little canal over here, and we'll go over to a shrine, and actually are still using it. It's not completely abandoned, and it's just a short little walk down through the trees over here. Yeah, the locals have kind of built a set of stairs here, and then they can go down. Now the next temple we'll look at is Wat Raeng, and it's kind of a mystery because there's it's on the maps here from the old days in a couple different locations. And then you can see this is a kind of a swampy area. That's the old canal over there. And then that's looking back into the site. So the temple itself was kind of raised up a little bit. And you can see some of the bricks and stuff like that all scattered out amongst the trees. Yeah, and they have a little trail here so you can walk over to the shrine. And there is another temple somewhere out over here that's on the map, but I have no idea where it's at. It's just another abandoned ruin. In the old days, this would have all been a nice canal that would have taken you to Wat Yae, I think, is another temple over there. There's several pretty substantial temples in this area around this old canal. Now it's just kind of a swampy area. And then over here is the shrine. There's not a whole lot to see of it, but we'll take a look and then we'll take a short little motorcycle ride over to the other two temples that I want to show you in this video. Yeah, and this is also not too far away from the old elephant crawl. The old kings and everybody would have came. You can see the birds flying around here in this little swamp. But the kings would have came up here on these canals by boat along with the local people. And they would have stopped at these temples and everything else. This used to be surrounded on three sides by water. And you can still kind of see a little bit of the water here. But in rainy season, this will all be submerged. And they got a couple of the buffalo pinned up over here. So you can leave a donation to buy them hay and all of that. And then this is the little shrine. There's actually quite a few Thais that have come over here. You can come in from the main road and there's a coffee shop up there. And then it's a short walk down a trail to get over here to this. A little easier coming this way than the way I came. Yeah, this is all that remains right here. So this is Wat Raeng, which I think the translation is Temple of the Vulture. And the Thais will come here and pray and just kind of relax underneath these trees. But the base is all that's left here, just kind of the footprint of what it used to look like. And then right over there you can see that's the little trail that comes down and they have a coffee shop. And then the locals will come here and burn the incense. And then this is the old foundation of the old hall. And then you can see this is the shrine. That's all that's really remaining. People have came. There's quite a few people that have came here and left the flowers. And you can see the image inside that little building they've built. It looks like a tree has grown up here, and you can see the termite mound and a little bit of the old chedi. And then this is the image that's inside there. Yeah, pretty nice. Okay, so let's walk back over and we'll jump on the motorcycle, and it's a short little, I don't know, 5-minute motorcycle ride down to the south of here for the other two temples we'll take a look at. You can see they've brought in some tables and stuff here. So they'll pick these up here next month when the rainy season comes and move these out, because this will all be flooded again. Yeah, I'd like to know where that other temple is. It's over in that way, on the other side of this little canal somewhere. There's Wat Po, which is kind of an interesting temple that's over that way also, that has some Persian influence. Has a really cool, I've done a video from over there, but it has some really cool arches that are like the Persian style. And that's not too far away as far as things go if you have a boat out here. All right, so here's the first of the other two temples we're going to look at. This is Wat Khwit, K-W-I-T, and then on the other side of this small little canal over here is Wat Pa Daeng, and it's the better one of the two sites here. Now this was actually a pretty large site. You can see it's just kind of in a community here, and it's not maintained at all. There's never been a formal excavation of this. But you can see there was the brick courtyard here, and there were several little chedis and stuff like that. You can just see mainly mounds, and then it has a mound right here of the old chedi. And now the locals, they come out here, they hung all the, like the Buddhist flags and the Thai flags. They have hammocks and stuff here. And they come over here and they just hang out in this area. I saw some guys over here a bit ago that were drinking some Lao Khao. You can see this is a square base here, and you can see what's left up there of the top. And they brought in a modern Buddha and stuck over there. And then another little chedi over here in the corner. But this is just the mound of the old hall here. You can see it's never been excavated or restored or anything like that. Just the base of the building. And they've rounded up some of the bricks and put around the trees and stuff like that. And then over here is a chedi, what's left of it. They've got some spirit halls, and you can see more of like the little swampy area and some more houses and stuff over there. You can see those are like the tiles from the roof. So the roof would have all been made out of wood. That would have all rotted away. And then the tiles would have just fell down here and everything would have been abandoned. You can see this would have been a large image right here. You can see that's part of the leg. And then just some of the plaster and stuff they've just piled up there. And so the locals still come over here and pray. This one is probably the worst of the three temples here. That little shrine that you've seen that they've restored it a little bit, the locals have, and they'll still come over there and pray. And then this is what separates the two temples here. And let's look over at this one here. This is Wat Pa Daeng. And again, there's nothing really known about them. They just, they've never been excavated, so they don't have any inscriptions or anything like that. What you see here is just what the locals have done to kind of preserve them and use them. And they've set a barber chair over here. And you got the guys over here, they're playing checkers or something. And then these are the houses here. And then Wat Pa Daeng is just right on the other side. They do have a sign right there talking about how it is a registered historical monument, and the same as this one over here. And there's the sign for this one right here. And this is how I get around whenever I find places like this. I just come over on my motorcycle. These are places that are out away from everything else, so tourists never come over here. So this one here is a really nice chedi. It's really a narrow bell. So I would say it's probably early Ayutthaya. You see how much plaster work is there. This is just a mound now. There's not much else to see here. The trees have kind of overgrown. And then they have another chedi right here. We'll look at it in a sec. Yeah, so you can climb up there in those trees, but sometimes there's snakes and stuff like that, so we won't do that. That's that bell-shaped chedi. And then this one over here is the most interesting one to me because it has the use of some laterite stones whenever they built it. And the locals have came over here and tried to shore it up. You can see part of the top right there. And they have brought in a modern Buddha. You can see the spirit house over here. And then this is the chedi. So you see the laterite stones there and there. And what they've done is they've tried to shore it up with some bricks that are modern. But this one here was built with laterite stones, and then they put the plaster on the top of it. Yeah, up here is the top of the chedi. And they have no idea when this temple here was built, but the use of the laterite stones, that's an early way that they built these here. And this is the side here. So you can see a little bit of the plaster right there. And then these are all modern bricks that they've stuck in there to try to keep that chedi from collapsing. And then they put some scaffolding up here, and they've just kind of abandoned it just like this. And it's just the mound here. And then the rest of the temple is all gone. You can see they have houses and stuff like that over there. But when you come here, if you climb around like I am, you'll have all the vines and everything that'll kind of pull at you. And just be mindful of snakes and stuff. And you can see the locals, they've just tossed their trash and stuff like that over here, which is real common in Ayutthaya. And that's that other Wat Khwit over there. Yeah, so there's the one chedi. You can see the laterite stones and the scaffolding. And then you could just see the top of the fanal of that second chedi. And then the little road that goes through here that the locals use. Well, that'll finish up our video over here in Ayutthaya. These are 4 temples that I've never been to. They're just out of the way. There's things that nobody ever gets to see. So I wanted to come over here and take a look at them today. I like going around to these abandoned temples, even though it's kind of tough because there's not a whole lot known about them. But I do still like to go and see what they look like. And this whole area, if you can believe it, would have had the canal here, there would have been houses and everything out here, and it would have been a pretty prosperous area. If you go to the north, it was another area where they built all those ceramic pots that you see, the big, huge water storage pots. So there was a lot of stuff going on here. I mean, there were 1 million people or so in Ayutthaya, and this is just a few kilometers north of the old Grand Palace and stuff like that. And there's a couple other sites in the area that are still popular, but these 4 are just unknown. So hopefully you enjoyed coming over here and walking around with me. We got to see a little bit out here in the trees and stuff like that. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If you've been to them, which I don't think too many people have, but if you've been here, let me know in a comment down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and until next time from over here in Ayutthaya, remember, life is a journey. So until next time, enjoy.